Well, first off, welcome. Like those other coaches said, it's a very exciting time here at Georgia State. I think for us going into year two, not only is it year two of our program, but it's year two of being in the Sun Belt Conference and kind of knowing the types of teams that we'll play against on a regular basis, the type of athletes that we need to compete in this conference, and feel like we've taken a big step at a lot of positions on our defense. And I know the guys. Really the season for us ended last day of the season. I know they started working towards this year the next day. So these guys we're young. We don't have a lot of seniors on our team. We've added some new faces. But the one thing since January, since we've really started working with them more towards this season, it's a very hungry group, very enthusiastic group, and these guys want to win games. And they put in the time, they put in the work. They put in all the things they need to do this summer to make huge strides, and can't wait to start with them tomorrow.
Can you talk about the challenge in running the system? You have a lot of experience in the front seven, and then you've got to replace almost the entire secondary. Does that change how you want to do things, or how do you kind of work that out?
I don't think it changes how we do things. I think we've upgraded ourselves in the secondary, so I actually somewhat go the other way. I think we're going to be able to do a little bit more with the skill set that we've added in the secondary. I think if you look around college football and the NFL, the great defenses have corners that can do special things, and I think we've added, I don't want to put too much on those guys, but I think we've added a number of athletes at that position that give us some flexibility of being able to do different things with our guys up front, and we look forward to those guys competing during camp.
Who were some of the guys that have caught your eye?
Athletically, we have two juniors right now, and those guys, Bruce Dukes and Marcus Caffey, they're both former Division I BCS caliber players, but at the same time, they haven't done much in their careers. And so they need to play football. Neither one of them have played a snap in a Division I football game. So camp for those guys is going to be huge. Athletically, they possess a lot of the skills that you look for at that position. Younger guys, B.J. Clay, talked about him earlier. He's a 6-foot, 175-pound kid now that's put on about 15 pounds since he walked in the door. He's got the skill set that you're looking for. And then a host of freshmen that we just brought in this summer. That I'm very excited to see all those guys compete. Shannon Sullivan, Antrell Allen, Jerome Smith, guys that provide some speed and athleticism that we're looking forward to seeing out there.
I asked Coach Miles this question. I'll kind of restructure it for you. You'll talk about how you have kind of a prototype for each position that you like to go off of. What are some positions where you feel like you have a better piece that fits what you want to do specifically with your defensive schemes? What are some examples of that?
Sure. I think we're a 3-4 structured defense, and so up front we want to be long. We want long-armed guys that need to be 270 plus range. At the defensive end positions, and I think we're there. Shawanye Lawrence and Tevin Jones, those guys fit the profile of a 3-4 defensive end. I think at nose tackle we got a couple guys that really fit the profile, and Jalen Lawrence and David Huey. I think at outside linebacker we got a McKindy Cherador really fits. I want a long, angular guy that has pass rush ability and has the ability to disrupt receivers with his length. And McKindy certainly possesses those qualities. Jarrell Robinson also possesses those qualities, playing a little bit more in space. We've moved him from inside. Jarrell's a guy that played inside linebacker for us last year at 208 pounds. And we moved him outside in the spring. He's 215, 220 pounds now and has long arms and can run. And he's a guy I think will do a great job for us at outside linebacker. And our two inside guys, from a mental standpoint and from a physical standpoint, really fit what we're looking for. Sean Jepson and Joe Peterson, and I think the young guys that we've recruited, Malik Ricks, Kite Dallas, going right on down the line, really fit what we're looking for at inside backer. And then I talked about the secondary. We've added some guys that certainly fit the bill of the type of we want to be a tall, long, big defense. I believe that big is better. You certainly can't sacrifice athleticism at certain positions, But at the end of the day, we want size. We want to be able to beat people up, not only up front, but we want to beat up receivers. We want to beat up tight ends, and that's the style of bodies that we've tried to recruit so far.
Going to Shawani Lawrence, last year he was a guy that, each game you would praise.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a lot of stats at the end of the season. Will that change this year? Do you expect to see him getting to the quarterback more, or creating more pressures, or passes batted down, or anything like that?
I certainly expect our production on the D-line to go up. I think those guys, you're throwing a kid that played fullback and kind of a hybrid defensive end position in high school, and you're throwing him in as almost a two-gap defensive end at times against 21, 22-year-olds. And so I think last year was a great experience for him. He did do a good job of being a sound football player, knowing his assignment, and kind of doing somewhat of the role he was supposed to do. But I certainly expect his production to go up, and we're going to coach him in a way that I certainly expect his numbers to show as an improved player as well.
Is the same true of Cherador?
Absolutely. McKindy's a guy, the thing about McKindy never really played defense in high school a whole lot. And then we brought him into camp. We had, you talked about it with Jags already with our tight end situation last year. And so he was a guy at the beginning of camp that worked at tight end. And that was what was best for the team at the time, but hurt his development as an outside linebacker. And we really didn't start playing him till about our second game last year. And so he learned by playing. He didn't get training camp, and he didn't get all the reps that we're going to get over the next 2.5, 3 weeks before we even worry about our first opponent a ton. And so camp for him is going to be huge, but he's made major strides since the end of the season. He made major strides in spring practice, was a much more productive player, and I expect his production to be pretty high.
Michael Shaw has got an outside linebacker that was brought in rather late in the recruiting process, but a ton of production at the high school level, reported close to 200 tackles recorded as a senior. Talk about him, and do you expect him to contribute right away as a freshman?
Yeah, Michael's a guy that you talk about the profile of fitting a position. He is a prototype for us at outside linebacker. 6'3 plus. He's going to end up being, I think he'll walk in today and be 210, 215 pounds, but he's going to be a guy in a year or two who's going to weigh 235 pounds. He can really run. That's his number one strength. And so in high school, they played him a little bit everywhere, but he played in the middle, and they said, hey, you're going to be the guy that makes every tackle. You run to the ball and you make the tackle. And so we're going to have to teach him some things to fit in with us, but he possesses the tools of speed and length, ability to make plays, and comes from a great program at Lanier. I had a chance to personally recruit him. And he's a guy that we recruited a lot longer than that, but he had some work to do to be able to get here, and he did a great job of making some major improvements and getting the job done in the classroom and being able to be a Division I player.
This was a defense that was close to last in the Sun Belt last year. So talk a little bit about, particularly you mentioned him earlier, sort of the same way that Nick Arbuckle was expected to be the leader of the team on the offensive side. Talk a little bit more about Joseph Peterson and how he's expected to be the leader on the defensive side of the ball for, again, a defense that was close to last in the Sun Belt last year.
Well, we're not worried about what happened last year. We think we're going to be a whole lot better, and nobody has higher expectations for this defense than me and the defensive players that we have. The thing about the Sun Belt, I've been around the game a long time, and the 24 points a game led the scoring defense in the Sun Belt last year. And to me, that that's almost sad that that's a goal, and I don't, to say you're going to give up 24 points in a game as a goal is not where we want to be. We want to be better than that. But going back to Joseph Peterson, he's a guy similar to Nick, even though Nick just got here, but he leads by example, and he's a vocal leader. And so when your leaders do everything right, they have a lot of clout with the players because they see this guy's never on a list. He's always the first guy in the weight room. He's the last guy out. He's always in the film room. And that's Joe P. And he's he's taken huge strides. I think Coach Volker, our linebacker coach, has done a great job of just getting that across to him, that there's a certain mentality, a certain personality you have to play inside backer. And no matter what defense you're on, the inside backer is normally the guy that kind of is the leader. And he's come a long way. I wouldn't have said this about him last year going into camp, but he's made huge strides in that aspect of his game since the end of the season. And at first, I think he was a leader solely based on his production and being a pretty good player. And since the end of the season, I think he's taken a great step in knowing how to lead and doing the things himself that show guys what it takes to be a next level type player.
Are there any specific points that you're specifically hammering in with your defense? For instance, let's cut out big plays, or let's keep the opponent's run per carry average below a certain mark. Is there anything like that you're focusing on?
Yeah, there's a couple. When you are coming off a season where you didn't have the numbers or the performance that you wanted, you can really emphasize everything. We have a standard of how we want to play, which is first and foremost stop the run. We want to take the ball away a lot more than we did last year, and I think some of the skill that we have in the back end will allow us to do some things a little bit more aggressively in coverages. And certainly big plays hurt us at times in the past, and we want to cut those down as well. But a number one thing to me is to be able to stop the run and make the quarterback uncomfortable. And I think if you're able to do those two things, then the turnovers will come, the big plays will go down, and I just am very excited about who we have to be able to improve in those areas.
Talk about Taurus Batiste and his move to safety and how that will improve the secondary.
Taurus is, he's similar to Joe Peterson since the end of the season, since we talked about moving him to safety. His leadership skills have gone way up, and I think he feels more comfortable back there. He wasn't quite he wasn't a prototype outside backer for us in the Sun Belt Conference, and he's size-wise, he fits what we look for in our safeties. He's a guy that I've obviously had a chance to be around for 3 years now, and he knows what to expect out of me and this coaching staff and Coach Miles. And he's a guy that the guys he has the personality that people kind of gravitate towards, and so it's important for him to be the leader and do things right because everybody kind of gravitates towards him. And I think he's come a long way in that regard. And I'm very excited about the progress he made in the spring. He made a lot of plays for us in the spring, got his hands on a lot of footballs, made those game-changing type of plays, and very excited to see him continue to develop at safety.